Quite simply, workers' self-management, sometimes called workers' control, means that all workers affected by a decision have an equal voice in making it, on the principle of one worker, one vote. That is, workers ought to be the real managers of industries. However, we need to be careful when using the term workers' control, as the concept is currently being co-opted by the ruling elite, which is to say that it is becoming popular among sociologists, industrial managers, and social democratic union leaders, and so is taking on an entirely different meaning from the one intended by anarchists, who originated the term. In the hands of capitalists, workers' control is now referred to by such terms as participation, democratization, codetermination, consensus, empowerment, Japanese-style management, etc. As Sam Dolgoff notes, for those whose function it is solve the new problems of boredom and alienation in the workplace in advanced industrial capitalism, workers' control is seen as a hopeful solution. A solution in which workers are given a modicum of influence, a strictly limited area of decision-making power, a voice at best secondary in the control of conditions of the workplace. Workers' control, in a limited form sanctioned by the capitalists, is held to be the answer to the growing non-economic demands of the workers. The new managerial trend of quality circles, meetings where workers are encouraged to contribute their ideas on how to improve the company's product and increase the efficiency with which it is made, is an example of workers' control, as conceived by capitalists. However, when it comes to questions such as what products to make, where to make them, and, especially, how revenues from sales should be divided among the workforce and invested, capitalists and managers don't ask for or listen to workers. So much for democratization, empowerment, and participation. In reality, capitalistic workers' control is merely another insidious attempt to make workers more willing and cooperative partners in their own exploitation. That's why we prefer the term workers' self-management. Workers' self-management, a concept which refers to the exercise of workers' power through collectivization and federation. Self-management in this sense is not a new form of mediation between the workers and their capitalist bosses, but instead refers to the very process by which the workers themselves overthrow their managers and take on their own management and the management of production in their own workplace. Self-management means the organization of all workers into a workers' council or factory committee, or agricultural syndicate, which makes all the decisions formerly made by the owners and managers. As such, it means a transition from private to collective ownership, which, in turn, calls for new relationships among the members of the working community. Self-management means the end of hierarchy and authoritarian social relationships in workplace and their replacement by free agreement, collective decision-making, direct democracy, social equality and libertarian social relationships. Therefore, workers' self-management is based around general meetings of the whole workforce, held regularly in every industrial or agricultural syndicate. These are the source of final authority over decisions affecting policy within the workplace as well as relations with other syndicates. These meetings elect workplace councils whose job is to implement the decisions of these assemblies and to make the day-to-day administration decisions that will crop up. These councils are directly accountable to the workforce and its members, subject to re-election and instant recall. It is also likely that membership of these councils will be rotated between all members of the syndicate to ensure that no one monopolizes an administrative position. In addition, smaller councils and assemblies would be organized for divisions, units and work teams as circumstances dictate. In this way, workers would manage their own collective affairs together, as free and equal individuals. They would associate together to cooperate without subjecting themselves to an authority over themselves. Their collective decisions would remain under their control and power. This means that self-management creates an organization so constituted that by affording everyone the fullest enjoyment of his or her liberty, It does not permit anyone to rise above the others nor dominate them in any way but through the natural influence of the intellectual and moral qualities which he or she possesses, without this influence ever being imposed as a right and without leaning upon any political institution whatever. Only by convincing your fellow associates of the soundness of your ideas can those ideas become the agreed plan of the syndicate. No one is in a position to impose their ideas simply because of the post they hold or the work they do. Most anarchists think that it is likely that purely administrative tasks and decisions would be delegated to elected individuals in this way, freeing workers and assemblies to concentrate on important activities and decisions rather than being bogged down in trivial details. As Bakunin put it, is not administrative work just as necessary to production as is manual labor, if not more so? Of course, production would be badly crippled, if not altogether suspended, without efficient and intelligent management. But from the standpoint of elementary justice and even efficiency, the management of production need not be exclusively monopolized by one or several individuals. And managers are not at all entitled to more pay. The cooperative workers' associations have demonstrated that the workers themselves, choosing administrators from their own ranks, receiving the same pay, can efficiently control and operate industry. The monopoly of administration, far from promoting the efficiency of production, on the contrary only enhances the power and privileges of the owners and their managers. What is important is that what is considered as important or trivial, policy or administration rests with the people affected by the decisions and subject to their continual approval. Anarchists do not make a fetish of direct democracy and recognize that there is more important things in life than meetings and voting. While workers' assemblies play the key role in self-management, it is not the focal point of all decisions. Rather, it is the place where all the important policy decisions are made, administrative decisions are ratified or rejected, and what counts as a major decision determined. Needless to say, what is considered as important issues will be decided upon by the workers themselves in their assemblies. A self-managed workplace, like a self-managed society in general, does not mean that specialized knowledge, where it is meaningful, will be neglected or not taken into account. Quite the opposite. Specialists, for example workers who are interested in a given area of work and gain an extensive understanding of it, are part of the assembly of the workplace, just like other workers. They can and have to be listened to, like anyone else, and their expert advice included in the decision-making process. Anarchists do not reject the idea of expertise nor the rational authority associated with it. Anarchists recognize the difference between being an authority, having knowledge of a given subject, and being an authority having power over someone else. We reject the latter and respect the former, as Bakunin said. Does it follow that I reject all authority? Far from me such a thought. In the matter of boots, I refer to the authority of the bootmaker. Concerning houses, canals, or railroads, I consult that of architect or engineer. For such or such special knowledge I apply to such or such a savant. But I allow neither the bootmaker nor the architect nor the savant to impose his authority upon me. I listen to them freely and with all the respect merited by their intelligence, their character, their knowledge, reserving always my incontestable right of criticism and censure. If I bow before the authority of specialists and avow a readiness to follow, to a certain extent and as long as may seem to me necessary, their indications and even their directions, it is because their authority is imposed upon me by no one, neither man nor by God. I bow before the authority of special men, and women, because it is imposed upon me by my own reason. However, specialization does not imply the end of self-management, but rather the opposite. The greatest intelligence, Bakunin argued, would not be equal to a comprehension of the whole. Thence results, for science as well as industry, the necessity of the division and association of labor. Thus specialized knowledge is part of the associated workers and not placed above them in positions of power. The other workers in a syndicate can complement the knowledge of the specialists with the knowledge of the work process they have gained by working and so enrich the decision. Knowledge is distributed throughout society and only